What you just saw was the utter disgust that comes with the clear skies that marks the end of the Australian storm season. Now that I'm not shooting a lot, I figured it's time to put together the highlights of some of the craziest storms we've had this year that have probably given me some of my best photos I've ever taken. And man, what a year it's been. From sky-spanning Anvil Crawler lightning to weirder things like blue jets and sprites. This has been one of the best storm seasons I've had so far, and some of my best footage is recorded in this video. I'm willing to bet that 90% of you haven't seen something like this, so I recommend you sticking to the end. You're watching Nature by JJ, and I'm a landscape photographer from northwestern Australia specializing in storms, and in the last couple of years, transient luminous events. More on that later. I'm a new channel on YouTube, so if there's any improvements that you think I can make to my videos, please put it down in the comments below. So, let's start with a quick introduction. Welcome to one of the last wilderness areas in the world. A place called the Kimberley. This is a place of hidden wonders and hidden dangers. It's a place of wide open skies and a place of dramatic contrasts. Being in the southern hemisphere, our storm season runs roughly from November through to April. The Kimberley isn't known for tornadoes or supercells, nor hail or haboobs. Instead, we get some pretty interesting lightning-related phenomenon. In fact, the Kimberley is the lightning capital of Australia. Alright, enough rambling for now. Please sit back, relax, and enjoy my top 5 storms of the 2024-2025 Australian wet season. This wet season starts off with a bang. And while spectacular views can be had from up close to the storm, it can be a pretty dangerous place. Sometimes taking a step back can be just as interesting. Now let me ask you a question. What color is lightning? From up close, lightning appears mostly white with tinges of purple or blue. But from further away, it takes on a more orange hue, for a similar reason that the sunsets are orange. A mid-range storm can appear any color in between that. The insides of storms is a tumultuous, complex place, filled with ice crystals, water droplets, hail, even dust particles. Lightning inside of thunderstorms, called intracloud lightning, filtering through all these different layers can create some amazing visual effects. And this next storm turned this up to 11. This is the part of the video where things start to get interesting. The eagle-eyed among you may have noticed a mysterious blue flash of light appearing above one of the storm cells. This is a very rarely seen phenomenon, part of a family called transient luminous events, or TLEs. This particular one is called a blue jet. And to be honest, there's probably less than 50 people in the world who've actually caught a blue jet on camera. It takes a very specific set of conditions to form a jet, such as the charge layers within a thunderstorm lining up in just the right way. Also, just seeing them is a bit of a challenge, as storms tend to occur in cloudy environments. We don't know much about blue jets, and a lot of what we do know comes from research done at the International Space Station, which doesn't have to deal with clouds. Unlike us peasants, this footage from ESA astronaut Andreas Mogensen from 2015 was the first time that scientists got a clear picture of blue jets. But what makes them so difficult to see? Apart from being highly unpredictable, they're also blue, and blue light tends to scatter more in the atmosphere, so being at the right distance is really important to seeing one. Also, they're pretty dim, so a blue jet can easily get lost in a sea of intracloud lightning. Any light pollution, or even moonlight, can seriously affect your ability to see a blue jet. But fortunately, the Kimberley has some of the darkest skies in the world. Considering everything working against you, this next storm stands out as being extra special. Ready for things to get even weirder? No, these aren't aliens. They're another type of TLE. But to understand what these are and why they're so special, we need a little science lesson. Storms are made up of many different charge layers, the most significant of which is the storm top, which holds a lot of positive charge, also called the Anvil, and the ionosphere about 100 kilometers up, which also holds a strong positive charge. Now, remember those sky-spanning bolts of lightning from the first storm? These are called Anvil Crawlers, and in really big storms, they can stretch for hundreds of miles, transferring a very large amount of charge. About 5% of the time, one of these bolts may actually hit the ground, transferring a large amount of positive charge into the ground. These are known as positive cloud-to-ground flashes, or CGs. If it transfers a big enough amount of charge, something very interesting happens. The charge in the anvil, which was positive, suddenly becomes negative, which creates a brief but strong electrical field between the storm top and the ionosphere, creating a red sprite. The storm is over 100 miles away, but notice just how bright the bolt is when it hits the ground, indicating a large amount of charge is being transferred. The formation of a sprite is incredibly quick, on the order of milliseconds. Here it is in real time. As with blue jets, which are much more rare, sprites aren't very often seen because of clouds. Also, not every positive CG is strong enough to create a sprite. To put things into perspective, scientists think that there are about 6,000 flashes of lightning across the world every minute. For sprites, it's 0.6 sprites per minute worldwide. Sprites can happen alone, in groups, or often with secondary TLEs called secondary jets. They also come in a huge variety of shapes and sizes, from tiny, column sprites, to massive, city-sized monsters called jellyfish sprites. As with blue jets, it takes a very similar set of conditions to be able to successfully see and photograph sprites. This next storm delivered on just that. The wet is nearing its end. Little by little, the storm clouds start to disappear. The wet has brought life-giving water to the parched plains, bringing with it the sounds of new life. The tide of water washes over the land, as if washing the struggles of the previous year away, and the entire north turns green. A symphony of sounds blankets the wetlands of the Kimberley, as if saying goodbye to the rains that has brought so much life. One March evening, Mother Nature showed that she had one last show to give.